A presidential visit to the Polish border as the conflict in Ukraine enters its second month. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30. Russia announces an end to the first phase of its war in Ukraine, but does that mean a scaling back of its invasion? Well, tonight's announcement suggests a change of tactics from Vladimir Putin. We'll be live in Kyiv with analysis on what that might mean. Also ahead.
The Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. Russia says the first phase of the invasion of Ukraine is over and it's now concentrating on liberating areas in the east of the country. Western officials think this means Russia has now accepted its strategy is failing. Fierce resistance from Ukrainians appears to have pushed Russian forces back from Kyiv and out of artillery range of the capital. But there's a far darker picture for places like Mariupol. New pictures have emerged of the Russian airstrike on a theatre in the city where civilians were seeking shelter. Officials say at least 300 people are now thought to have died, the deadliest known attack on civilians yet, as John Ray reports. Well, this is how the current situation on the ground. Well, as Russia reassessed its military operation in Ukraine, US President Joe Biden was just across the border in Poland meeting US troops. It was a message to President Putin that NATO is prepared to defend itself. It was also a show of support to Poland, which has taken in huge numbers of refugees. From Warsaw, Peter Smith reports. Well, here the Transport Secretary says the boss of P&O Ferry should quit after admitting that his company broke the law. Peter Hepplethwaite told MPs yesterday that the company didn't consult over the sacking of 800 workers as no union would accept it. Well, today Grant Shapps called on him to go. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, Anush Kristana. COVID infections have hit record highs in Scotland and Wales and are nearing record levels in England. Across the UK, an estimated 4.2 million people had coronavirus last week, just short of the highest number recorded in the first week of this year. Hospital admissions are also rising, although thankfully the milder strain means fewer people are falling seriously ill. It is, though, still putting greater pressure on the NHS. Here's our health editor, Emily Morgan. There's plenty to come on the ITV Evening News, including we'll be live in the Caribbean shortly, so join us again after the break. Welcome back. The man accused of murdering MP Sir David Amess wanted to become a martyr, a court heard. Police interviews with defendant Ali Harbi Ali were played to jurors at the Old Bailey today. In them, Ali describes his allegiance to the Islamic State terror group and how he thought the killing of Sir David was a just cause. He denies murder and preparing acts of terrorism. Sejal Carrier has more. The Republic of Ireland's foreign minister had to be evacuated from a building after a security scare in North Belfast today. Simon Coveney was in the middle of a speech about peace at the time, while UTV's Vicky Hawthorne was in the room when the security scare happened and joins us now from Belfast. So, Vicky, talk us through what happened. A mother and her boyfriend have been jailed for the killing of her two-year-old son in South London, Kyril Matthews. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are in the Bahamas tonight on the final stop of their Caribbean tour. And despite the beautiful locations, it may be a trip they'll be keen to end. There have been some tricky moments and the images haven't always helped. Our royal editor, Chris Shipp, joins us from the Bahamas. And Chris, they've arrived to some pretty bad weather. Don't forget, you can stay up to date on our website, but here's what's coming up before Emmerdale. First, it's been 1 year since ITV News exposed the shocking conditions in council and housing association homes across England. We uncovered properties that weren't just unfit to live in, they were downright dangerous too. Our investigation saw tenants rehoused, forced apologies, prompted calls for action and led to a parliamentary inquiry into the crisis. But for those stuck in substandard social housing, little has actually changed, except that is, they're having to pay more for the privilege as rents are rocketing. Well, as our political correspondent Daniel Hewitt now reports. Darren, you've been investigating poor housing for a year now. In that time, have we seen any change?
I think it's probably fair to say they are auditing their properties more, they are reforming their complaint system. Some are spending a lot at an all-time low. This will not help. Secondly, we know these rent rises come at a time when homeless, where do they go? Their council or housing association, and there simply are not enough properties to go around.
Daniel, thank you. Let's get an update on what's making the news tonight. But first, a legal loophole which allowed motorists to escape punishment for using mobile phones whilst driving has been closed from today. A zero-tolerance approach means taking photos or videos, choosing music and playing games even is now banned across the UK. It's aimed at making the roads safer for all users and reducing the dangers of distracted driving, as our consumer editor Chris Choi now reports. The local government association is calling for free school meals to be expanded. The association. Join me and Alex for all of that after this short break.